Hey, what is up guys, Rick here and welcome to a brand new Let's Play of Sanctum 2. This is my very first PC game, so I'm currently trying to see if it's gonna work perfectly. So far I did a little bit of testing in there and the volume might be low, but if there's anything I'll actually fix it in the in post-production. Anyways, this is Sanctum 2. This is one of my favorite games of all time. As you can see, I'm already ranked 40, which is basically the max in this game. A quick note like that, we are going to do all DLCs in this game. I actually own all of them, so basically we're gonna go through the entire thing with, well, leaving nothing behind. I'm not gonna bother showing the Easter egg, however, but I will do all the DLCs, and I will also try as much as possible to change weapons and do some wacky tactics. That is why I actually kept my rank 40 file, just because I could actually like show more towers and show more stuff. So, without further ado folks, let's actually start this. So, before we do anything else, we have a prologue to go through. Fortunately enough, Sanctum allows you to do to show you everything you already did, so you're not missing anything from a save file that's already been completed. Let's do the introduction. Now I'm gonna shut up. Unless there's no dialogue, but you know. Off to work. Oh, if you're wondering, I'm playing this on max settings, except for VSync because I hate VSync because it causes input lag. So if there's a bit of screen tearing, sorry for that. Okay, so basically, first introduction, like this game is a tower. It's an hybrid between a first-person shooter and a tower defense. Funny enough, when you start playing this, you don't actually like. It's not. How can I say that? It doesn't start up as a FPS tower defense type of game because honestly, when you look at this, it looks like just like a first-person shooter. But this is only a tutorial area. It's not the real game yet. Now, this is more like it. Up on top left, we have our mini-map, which is very useful for knowing where towers are at and all kind of cool stuff. Getting a bit of lag, I might actually have to lower settings a little bit. It's quite dangerous, not dangerous, but quite tough for a PC to do all recording and all that stuff at the same time on max settings. I'm also testing my PC because obviously I haven't never actually had something to try to push it with it, so this is the first time actually pushing my PC to the max, so I don't actually know how good this is gonna be or how awesome it's gonna look like. Obviously, if wondering what I'm doing here, I'm amazing. Amazing is basically one of the most basic technique in tower defense. When you maze, you want to make the longest path as possible in order to make the enemies take as much time as possible. Okay, also one thing like that. Every weapon has primary fire like that. When you're reloading, you can swap to a secondary weapon, so you're never out of firepower. Also, every gun has a secondary fire mode like that. For example, for that pistol, it's a seeking fireball, and I kind of got ducked that punch a little bit. You can actually go off the map. If you do, you die in one hit. Although, one thing to mention, even though you die in one hit, there's nothing preventing you from exploring. Sometimes in levels you'll have like little Easter eggs or little pathways you can go. Like for example, I don't know if there's anything in here, but like some levels you can actually go on those paths and find stuff. A lot of these Easter eggs are hidden that way. In this map, well, it's basically just that, or a fight area. Maps in Sanctum can go from very small to very big. This is obviously one of the tutorial zone. It's very, very small. But later on in the game, we're gonna have some pretty big one. I don't want to kill those conscriptors because they're there. I would feel bad for killing them, although it would make a better maze if I actually kill them. Sorry, guys. Kapluch. Anyways, let's do this. And the game is telling me to do stuff that I already know about. That's the thing. I play this game is literally the second most played game in my library behind Xenonauts, which is a XCOM remake, which is damn awesome. I should totally do a let's play of that, by the way. Although I don't know if it's gonna be. I tend to save scum a lot in that game, so I can't actually. Doing a let's play of that would be kind of bad for me because I would have to fight my urge of save scumming. I'm OCD about like keeping everybody alive no matter the cost. Even I have to teach. Well, I'm not cheap, but even if I have to cheat a little bit, and there's a tower too. Cool thing about Sanctum is that everything you place, unless you're playing hardcore, which is a skull you can add, which basically make the difficulty a lot harder. Anything you place in Sanctum, you can get exactly it back. For example, if you place the tower just upgraded, if I want, I could just get the entire thing back by just recycling it. It is very, very nice because it means that your maze can be totally changed on the very quickly. Sadly, the problem with that is that if you don't know what to jeez, sorry, lapse. But yeah, the problem is that even though you can recycle everything and change your maze a lot, is that if you don't know how to make your maze in the first place, if you don't know what tower is good for level, even if you just change it a lot, you gotta know what place and where. Although the good thing about it being able to change your maze a lot is that if you're playing a specific defense for a specific type of enemies, you can basically turn it around, like do a 180 completely to go for something that's more like good for crowd control to something that is like a Titan killer. It kills stuff that is very, very, very tough. So the first actual campaign, on the first one we're playing as this lady on the right. This is Kyle. This is the main character. She's your basic like character. She has double jump as a passive, and also she does more damage per hit. The thing about Sanctum is that all their primary weapon, by the way, you cannot change them until you're like level max. They all have a specific weapon that is like unique to them, and all of them special weapons are like very, very synergic with their abilities. Like Skyle has an assault rifle, and she has an ability that makes more damage per hit every time you hit someone, which means the assault rifle can pile up a huge amount of damage on a single enemy, which means that Skyle is one of the best for for killing very heavily armored enemies. Although she has a big downside, her assault rifle do very little damage per round. It just shoots a lot of rounds, so it means that heavy armored, which is also supposed to be her specialty, it's a double-edged sword. She's good against unarmored high health, but she's bad against armored high health. Which I say that Kyle is good and bad. She has some strong points, but she's very, very weird to use. Sweet has a rocket launcher that has a huge AoE, and all of the things she hits is set on fire, which means if you shoot one bullet, you can pretty much set an entire bunch of dudes on fire. It's very, very good for crowd control. It's also very, very good for killing heavy enemies as well, because you can just set them on fire and they take a lot of damage. If you put the right perk, you can basically kill people almost instantly with the right perks and the right setups. I say that Sweet is probably the best character in the entire selection. Simo's the sniper guy. He has an insane amount of DPS. You can hit the face. Obviously his passive is more headshot. Oh, by the way, Simo can also move better in the air. I just forgot to mention that. Simo can more damage, and he's also more accurate, which means hip fire is actually a lot better on Simo. Also, if you're trying to use the assault rifle, for example, it's going to be a lot easier to aim. Only that bad thing about Simo is that if you're not capable of getting those headshots, it's not worth it actually picking you up. I'll probably not play with Simo a lot. I'm really good at playing headshot, but the thing is I'm playing a PC game with an Xbox controller because of the fact that I'm not very good with a keyboard and mouse, so I'm not planning on headshotting a lot since of my configuration. Higgins is a shotgunner. Do a lot of damage close up. You can charge a shotgun. Because of the way Sanctum do armor, like basically whenever you do 100 damage, if the enemy has 40 armor, every 100 damage will be like, if for example you hit like 100, you'll do like 60. If you hit 200, you'll do like 160. It basically always deduct a fixed amount of damage per hit. So the shotgun basically can be charged, which means that if you don't charge it, it's going to shoot fast, and it's going to be able of taking out like light armored enemy very quickly. If you charge it, it's capable of one-hit killing almost anything that is medium, and a full burst will deal a ridiculous amount of damage to almost instantly cripple or kill heavy armored enemies. Tezgen is a new character. She has a ballista. It's by the way, she's a DLC. Ballista does a lot of damage. You need to charge it. It's very hard to hit, but the last shot, because of her passive, will do ridiculous amount of damage. She's also move faster, so with the right perks, she's basically untouchable, which is kind of cool. But since we are going to mess around a little bit, let's go for Kyle. I talked a lot about how guns work and all that stuff, so I'll cut to the chase. I'll just pick random guns, and just for the sake of it, random guns. I'll go for the grenade launcher. There was a recent patch that actually made it a lot better, and I'm actually hitting the talk button. Rockets, APC, perk. I'll go for armor shredder. Ignore armor. That's cool. That basically removed the damage that's applied to everything. Spray and pray. Increase damage. Increase accuracy, and more damage when you're full health. Yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do this. So, let's start with some fun. Basically, we are good. Now, this is Basic Maze 101. If I was to actually make a perfect maze, I would totally destroy everything here because it's not mazed properly. But since I'm doing a Let's Play and I don't feel like bothering you guys, I'm only gonna do that when it's actually needed. This is the very first map. It's pretty much unfailable, so I'll just have fun with random guns and equipment. And basically enjoy life, as the first levels are extremely easy, and the last levels can become quite challenging. That is the way of Sanctum. Me placing towers randomly, because YOLO. As you can see, now the actual assault rifle, if I would actually bother aiming, does a lot more damage because we now have the actual, and by the way, like, grenade launcher is kind of weird. Does a lot more damage now that we actually have the armor shredder perk. Okay, so what's that? Okay, that's a mine. I never use that gun really. It looked fun on paper, but because of the fact that grenades don't explode on impact, it's quite tricky to use.
This is gonna get him.
Also, that APC is poorly placed. APC in this game recently got a patch which made them do a lot less damage but hit stronger, because these towers, what used to happen, they do an earthquake every like 1 or 2 seconds. And the thing is, they used to make an earthquake, but the earthquake was so slow that some enemies could pass between the earthquakes. So it made NPCs like the best thing against little guys, because they do so much damage for stuff. But also made them quite bad because actually they wouldn't actually explode every time they needed to explode, which made them kind of bad. And I should stop reloading too early. I'm not used to that grenade launcher, so obviously I'm having a bit of problems aiming properly. It's quite devastating if you ask me. Oh, one thing like that. If you're wondering, weapons versus towers in this game, I would say it's about 50-50. Towers are good for doing stuff when you're not capable of being there, but towers are not that powerful as well. They will be able to take care of most enemies if you level them up, but the thing is, they're not like almighty, capable of stopping everything. You won't be able to win this only with towers unless you take the right perks, and unless you're having very carefully planned tower placement. Generally what happens in Sanctum is that you'll do like 50% of damage and your towers will do 50% of damage pretty much. It's usually the way it goes. It's a bit different in multiplayer because in multiplayer the enemies has more health, and obviously you have a little bit more towers because of the way the economy is made, but it's not like perfect. So basically I tend to rely a lot more on my guns because that's just the way I like to play it. But again, it depends on what type of player you are. And I really don't like that assault rifle. Like, she is the main character, but I never use her. She's okay. She has some decent abilities and stuff, but I rather have my good old lolly rocket launcher do that. That just do a lot of damage and set everything on fire, because some people just like to watch the fire. I mean, jeez, I totally messed that code up. Don't kill me, Bean. Please don't. I was trying to be smart, but I guess I just lost my English at the worst moment. Don't kill me. I know you will, but don't. You little beanpole of death and destruction. You human baseball bat.
Okay, get ready.
That sounds kind of wrong, actually. Human baseball bat. And that grenade launcher. It's used to suck a lot more than it did. It's actually a lot better than it used to be. Probably helped that they almost like doubled the ammo that it has. Also made the damage a lot better. Still almost unaimable, but it's still really good against crowds. Whee! Still would have rather had something else. By the way, fun fact about Sanctum, if you're wondering if level matters that much in this game, it does, yes and no. It does because it gives you more perks, but it doesn't because you get some of the best weapons from the get-go. Like, all the unique weapons the characters have locked to them are very good, except, like I said, I don't like the assault rifle, but like the rocket launcher is good, the sniper is good if you're capable of making it work. Almost all of them are good. The only one that I would say that, like I said, the only one I would say it's not that great is the assault rifle, which I'm using currently. Although, in terms of secondary weapons, these are the ones you're gonna unlock a lot later in the game. Secondary weapons, like basically, how can I say that? Only a few of them are good. Like the battle rifle, which I'm gonna use, that's probably gonna use at some point, is really the best gun you can ever wish for, and it's also the first one you unlock. It is just very, very good. And the only reason it's good is because it has a very high DPS coupled with some splash damage, which makes it very, very useful for pretty much killing everything. The high DPS makes it good for big guys, and the crowd control makes it useful for just tearing apart crowds of enemies. If you ask my opinion on the new grenade launcher, because like I said, it got patched, I say that's actually really good for crowd control. Kind of suck against regular enemies because it's kind of hard to aim. Although the cluster grenades I'm using right now are quite useful against soakers because of the way soakers take damage. By the way, if you're wondering these guys why they take so much health, why they have so much health, is soakers basically they take more damage every hit they get. So basically, if you're using Skyle, these guys are a piece of cake because Skyle power-ups stack with their weakness, which means that it's just good. If you're wondering that cannon, that cannon's quite funny. It's a makeshift cannon. Basically has one of those conscript like strapped to it, and it looks really weird. It's a very cheap tower. It's kind of a replacement for the regular cannon tower. It has an ability to do more damage if it has a critical, which stun the enemy and do a little bit more damage. Also, it has a chance of having a critical failure, which is a round that just doesn't do no damage. So it's a bit of a gamble, but it's quite a cool tower. I like it because it's makeshift, obviously. Makeshift stuff is cool. I'll try the secondary fire a little bit more. Yeah, it is really good for just covering a zone in the pure sheer carpet of explosions. Also, kiting. This game has a mechanic of aggression. Some mobs are more aggressive towards you rather than the objective. Like the walkers, for example, they sometimes they will just go after you instead of trying to get the objective. Which means you gotta be careful because you can actually die. If you die, you respawn for 15 seconds, but it's gonna make these guys pass your defense a lot easier because you're not there to help the defense work out. It also means that if you're not careful, if you play on harder difficulties, but harder difficulties I mean by skull because there's no like difficulty, there's only normal and easy. I'm playing on normal because easy is a bit too easy. Basically, when you put skulls, it basically gives a bonus to enemies, like enemies have more health or stuff like that. It's a bit like in Halo, but like there's one that's called hardcore, which basically means you don't respawn. Which means you gotta be very careful about what you're doing. Like someone like the Soaker will not care at all if you're shooting them. Also, I'm gonna only use my assault rifle here because it does a lot more damage against these guys. So basically, it's a question of like towers, and that's what I like about the game. There are so many ways to play it. There's not a bad loadout. Well, there is bad loadout obviously, but there's no such a thing as like a bad strategy. Every single way of playing the game is right, but there's so many tower combinations and stuff like that that is just really incredible of a game. I just love it so much, and this episode's probably gonna drag a lot. Since I love this game a lot, I'll try to make 15-minute episode because it's easier to upload and it also takes a lot less time to put on YouTube. Also take a lot less space too. The problem I have with this game is that I love it a lot, so whenever I start playing, I play for hours. So because this is the first episode, I'm making it a little bit longer. But what I'll do is I'll probably like do one map and pause and stuff like that. So you know. But because I feel like playing this game, we're gonna do free map today. We're gonna do this interaction, this one, and this one. So this time around, let's go with. I want to show you my meta, my favorite loadout. Basically, what I use is very, very basic. I have the APC, which is crowd control. I have the lightning, which is very good against any heavy armored enemies. I have the violator, which is very good against heavy armored and also has a huge range. And I have the anti-air, which is just awesome for killing anything that flies. As perks, I have fire, which means I have no headshots, but have more damage. I have this one, which I love a lot. It basically makes fast weapons slow and slow weapons fast, which is very awesome because it does increase your DPS and also rebalance weapons, which makes them a lot funnier to use. Explosion rounds, which is a very fun one, which means that it take 15% damage. So hear me out for a second. Sweet has more damage when Sweet does fire damage, right? Well, listen to this. And fire boosts my damage, which means every damage I do, weapon-wise, it's bigger. I have tactical juxtaposition that makes my weapon fire twice as fast, but only with 60% damage. So these two makes my gun a lot stronger in terms of DPS. If you add that to this, Sweet, I equip my Sweet with two AoE weapons, like the battle rifle, which is explosive rounds, and the rocket launcher, which is explosive rockets. Which means I can cover a huge area with a lot of damage. Plus, I have this. This means that everybody that I hit takes 15 more damage for 5 seconds. Remember that Sweet has fire damage to her. So if you put that plus fire damage together, it means that it boosts your fire damage for like 15% plus all your subsequent shots. This loadout is extremely effective against pretty much everything that has two legs. And even stuff that don't, because in this game there are stuff that actually don't have two legs. Sometimes they have 4, sometimes they have none. Who knows? They are looms. And looms don't give a shit. Because they're looms. So, yeah. Let's actually do this. Also, this map is quite the bitch because there's a huge area with nothing you can shoot. So you have 2 violators. They're awesome, by the way. Violators are some of my favorite towers. Although I kind of like this tower a little bit more. This is the lightning. It does about the same damage as Violator, except it's only close range. But it shoots faster and it's capable of hitting 2 at the same time, which means it is a very insanely powerful tower. Oh, and by the way, crowd control was sweet. You aim somewhere and you just let it go. Easy as that. That's the power of a well-made loadout, to be honest. I mean, this loadout, I basically worked a lot on it. Like I said, there's no bad way of playing this game. There's many ways to make a good loadout. But so far, this is the one that I've seen that works the most for me. And I just cannot play without them on a harder map. On harder map, this is like the loadout I'll use all the time. Because it is just so polyvalent and so fun to use. It has one weakness. Because it doesn't have any critical hits, it means that it tends to suck against anything that is heavy armored and with no possibilities of heavy armored and that actually relies on using critical hits to kill. So it has some weakness, I'm not gonna lie. It is not perfect. I feel like it's 99% perfect because it only has one weakness. But obviously, there was probably better loadouts at some point in the universe. But for now, I'll just stick to what I like, which is blowing shit up. Oh, by the way, they swapped the entire thing around, so what we're gonna do, I'm gonna demonstrate the ability to get everything back. Since Sanctum is so nice with us to give us everything we want back whenever you want, we're just gonna go and actually switch the defense from side to side. If you play with a skull at its hardcore mode, I do not recommend you do this. You're better off like putting less tower defense and actually try to do more with your guns before you can actually afford a defense on both sides. But nevertheless, it's possible to just switch towers. So this is gonna be big guys, so I'll go for lightning. Lightning, every time you upgrade, it has a chain to it. Basically, if you level 1, chains to only one enemy, level 2 to 2, and level 3, massive damage to 3 enemies, which means the lightning, some towers you don't really want to upgrade them as soon as possible. The lightning, you want to upgrade it as soon as possible, just for a simple fact that it is very important that these guys get killed very quickly. Just for the sake of it, this is a warrior. I'm just gonna let getting zapped. It does about that much damage to a warrior. This is what I meant by you're going to be doing 50% damage on Sanctum. Your towers are capable of crippling enemies very, very, very effectively, like the Walker. But there is a but. It is not as it has a but, like all creatures has a but. It just has a. It's not perfect. Getting a defense that's capable of killing everything by its own is very difficult, and generally it's not gonna happen. Okay, so we have a Walker and a Spitter. Because we have another Walker, I'll put another Lightning in upgraded as well. That should be able to take care of all that side by itself. If there's anything, those Violators are gonna be capable of picking up the slack. But yeah, you gotta plan ahead, and you gotta be where you need to be. Because like I said, towers cannot do everything because you don't have enough money and you don't necessarily have the resources or the perks to make your towers do all the work for you. This is another thing I like about Sanctum 2, is that you have to synergize with your tower. Basically, if you're capable of doing something really nicely, like you have a good crowd control, you want to use towers like I am, like Lightning, because those are good for hitting a lot of very armored enemies. So it's basically having synergy between your weapons and your towers. That's what I like about the game. It has a lot of ways to play the game, and it's just fun. Oh, by the way, secondary fire of the Rex Rocket Launcher, a huge amount of damage, coming in one foul burst. It's very good for killing heavy armored enemy as well as soakers, because it has a lot more hits than regular hits, which means because of the soaker abilities to take more damage as long as they take more hits, it means that it's very, very good for getting a lot of damage done quickly to soakers. I don't know if the fire damage actually piled up. I don't know if you fire more on the same target, if it actually does more fire damage. I never actually bothered to verify. I should probably, since I'm using a character so much, I should probably know it a little bit better. It would make a lot of sense to know what you're using. I mean, duh. Come on, guys. We have another salva of explosive rocketness, goodness of fire, explosive death of destruction and funds. Yeah, funds. This guy's gonna pass. Keep an eye on your minimap. It's not only useful in Call of Duty, it's also useful in that game, because it tells you basically where you need to go and what you need to do. Because if you don't look at your minimap, you're not gonna be capable of being effective at putting your gun where it's needed. Oh shit! No! Phew. The conscript saved my ass there. I wanted to have the perfect wave, and I did, because of the conscripts. Okay, so these guys are pretty much taken care of. There's gonna be a lot of firepower needed there. I'll get chain on with this one. Also, put a bit more stuff here, and also get another lightning down. With sweets, you'll see me spam lightnings just because of the fact that I have a very good crowd control, so it's not very needed for me to actually have other towers that are better at crowd control, just for the sake of the fact that my character is just so good at it. Again, it's all about synergy. Come on. Where are you? Oh, you're there. That thing you don't want to hit. You don't want it to hit it directly, because you're gonna lose like most of the damage. It's a the secondary fire is best used from a distance. feel like my tower section here was really good against the waves we're getting because they're not passing at all. Gibbs. So, I'll stop the episode for here because it's kinda was a long one. Like I said, I'm also, oh yeah, so one thing I forgot to mention, the reason why I was gone for 3 days is because I was gone to a festival. But now I'm back. I'll probably try to keep up posting semi-daily episode. I'll try to keep it daily. Although I might, depending on how much time I have since school starts soon, I'll try to go at least like one episode every 3 or 2 days. But if I'm capable of, I'm gonna keep it daily. What I was doing before. So anyways, LOADOUT here. Hope you enjoy one of my favorite games. I just love that game so much. So, LOADOUT here. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and see you later. See ya, guys. Have fun.